Cubs are off today, but that doesn't mean that the speculation and the trade deadline talk has stopped, because it hasn't. As a matter of fact, the big news today is that Cody Bellinger is this close to returning to the Cubs, and that means that he's this close to being available for a trade, unless somebody would take him with a broken finger. We're going to talk about him and a couple other players that are getting a lot of speculation, and some teams that might be interested in taking some of the Cubs players that could be available right now this deadline. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, and let's get this party started. Thanks for hanging out with us right here. Go Cubs. Everybody, it's Mick Gillespie. Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. And don't forget that we are now available everywhere. Cubs Baseball Channel on Twitter, or X, if you prefer, Instagram and TikTok. And we are constantly trying to throw up stuff for you guys to look at there and help you get that Cubs fix. Now, I know that this time of year is one where you're going, okay, here we are again in a spot where do we buy or do we sell? And the truth is that Jed says that the Cubs have their sights set on 2025, which means that they're going to sell. Now, that means that they're going to sell, but they're not going to have a fire sale, because they still think that they have a chance next year. So they're going to try to make some moves to help the team down the road and probably get rid of payroll. One of the players who is going to be highly sought after, and maybe one of the best players available on this deadline market, is Cody Bellinger. And Bellinger this year, 79 games, 9 home runs, 37 batted in, hitting .269. You know, he's been really consistent. He hasn't been a game changer like he was last year, but he's been very consistent for the Cubs. He also plays first and center field. And on some teams, that is exactly what they're looking for. So the good news that the Cubs got, is being reported by the Chicago Tribune and other places, is that his fractured left middle finger is healing, and that he hit and threw on the field, and that Craig Counsell says that they expect to take him off of the IL while the Cubs are on this current road trip that starts tomorrow. So that's great news, right? And that means that he is available for teams that are looking for someone to help them. Right at the top of the list, it's the Yankees. The Yankees have been on a downward slide lately. They've been passed by Baltimore, and they expect that this team is going to contend. Aaron Judge is having a MVP type season. He's hitting the cover off of the ball, but they need to get him a little help. Right? They haven't gotten the contributions from some players, and other players have been hurt. No Anthony Rizzo, no DJ LeMahieu help, who hasn't been very good. So they could use somebody to play third, maybe some help at first, maybe some help in the outfield. They also could use a pitcher or two. So look at the Yankees. One thing that we've seen is that they are willing to part with their top prospects in a deal. They are a win-now organization, and they expect that this team is going to win a World Series. That's what they're going for. So it would not surprise me if they didn't part with a lot of their farm system, if they thought that it would get them the players to help get over the hump. Now, Jameson Taillon is an interesting fit, just because, he knows New York. He's been there. They know him. Maybe they look at Cody Bellinger, as we mentioned before, maybe Nico Heorner, whose name's being bantered around as well as an option. And then now with the Cubs looking at, dismantling the bullpen for the right price. And we've seen over the last few years that bullpen pitchers that can get outs are the very, very highly regarded, and teams will overpay for them at the deadline. It's been, since they expanded the wild card, it has been a seller's market, and I think that's what we're looking at again this year. Only a handful of teams are what you would look at and go, okay, these are sellers. Most teams are hopefully buyers are staying put, right? Now, the Yankees' arch rival in this season and last season too really is the Baltimore Orioles. They've got a team that for the second straight year is one of baseball's best. They're young. They went out, they built this team with tanking and draft picks, and they did a good job drafting. Tanking meaning they lost a lot of games probably on purpose by getting rid of any good players they had. And now they're at the point where the players that they got back have been developed and they're an excellent team, but they don't have a lot of experience. They went out and they got Corbin Burns from the Brewers. That helped them a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't look for two areas: starting pitching and bullpen. Cub fans know about Craig Kimbrell. I'm never comfortable with him as your closer, and he's Baltimore's closer. Last year, Philly had him, got into the playoffs, and then again, it's just so could someone like, I don't know, Drew Smyly help Baltimore? Could Mark Leiter Jr., who, if I'm the Cubs and I'm trading him, I'm getting a lot back in return. Is Julian Merriweather healthy enough to teams where they would want to go after him? He can really pitch. We saw that, but he's been hurt most of the season. So those guys are, guys to definitely keep an eye on. And then Taillon, who you could slot right into that second or third spot in the rotation, gives you experience. He's been one of baseball's most consistent pitchers this year, and Baltimore could definitely use some help there. Now, on the Cubs side of things, the Orioles have a stacked organization. Are they going to trade Jackson Holiday? I don't know. I mean, but if they were willing to give him up, there's a lot of players that the Cubs could send their way to help that Orioles team try to win their first World Series since 1983, since the Oriole Magic days, right? So they have the players to get this done. See, I don't know that the Yankees have the Yankees don't have as deep of a farm system as Baltimore. I just think that they're more willing to give up players to try to win now. And the Orioles are going to have to make decisions. Hey, how's this going to affect us down the road? And how serious are we about stacking up to try to compete in the postseason? Because they're definitely going to get there. And what's that going to look like? Other teams to keep an eye on, the LA Dodgers, they're having another successful year, but when they've gotten into the postseason, you could tell they need help. They're getting healthy again, but a bullpen arm here, maybe a bat there could be the difference for a team like that. And then there's teams like the Giants that I don't even think really have a chance to win the World Series, but they think they do, and you keep hearing their name pop up. Are the Pirates really players? You expect the Pirates to be selling at this point of the season, but with Paul Skeens and all the excitement, knowing that if you got into the playoffs and you got Paul Skeens, you got a chance. That guy could win each game that he starts. So do you make a deal? Do you want to bring Jameson Taillon back home again? He was a guy they had before. Or do you need some bats? They have prospects that they could give up. They're a team that has, the players to try to help out and move to win now, right? So that's where we are. We're going to keep an eye on this. Nico Heorner's name keeps being bantered around. He's a player that I'm sure the Cubs would really hate to give up because he has been so consistent. But as I mentioned on every video, it's just a position that the Cubs have a lot of depth in, right? You could move David Bodie. You could move Christopher Morel there on the big league roster. Miles Mastrobuoni plays there. And then in the minor leagues, long-term solutions, two of your biggest prospects are James Triantos and Matt Shaw, and both of those guys could play second base easy. And they may be better hitters than Nico in the long term. And I think that if you're the Cubs, why you would give up Nico Heorner is that he's never really developed that power that I thought he was. I said he reminded me of Ryan Sandberg because he hits so many line drives. He barrels the ball up a lot. But Rhino turned the line drives into home runs, and Nico really hasn't been able to do that. He's kind of the same type of hitter he was his entire college career and in the big leagues. He puts the ball in play, he can move it around, but he's just not a power guy. And, like Matt Shaw is going to hit way more home runs than Nico, you would figure, once he gets to the major leagues. So we'll see what happens. And I think a lot of it has to do with what you get back in return if you're the Cubs. If you're going to make deals and you're going to give up some of these guys, you just want to get a lot back, and they want basically ready prospects. Ready as in, hey, look, next year you're going to spring training and you're fighting for a spot, or 2 years from now. But if you get much further down the line than that, then you're going to miss this wave of players that they've been able to develop in trades and draft in their farm system. So anyway, we're keeping an eye on all of that stuff. Just wanted to give you an update. The good news is that Bellinger is coming back. I think that puts him in play now for teams that are looking for that type of a player, a game changer. Does the contract really hurt or help the Cubs? I think that he's got the opt-out. So even if you're the Cubs, you don't know if he's coming back next year. You know, he's got the option for that. So if you trade him, I think teams are going to say, hey, you know what? If we got a legitimate chance to win, he's a player that you immediately put in your lineup, makes your team better. And I don't think it's that big of a risk for the Cubs. So, but what do you guys think? Get in the comment section. Give me your opinion. Want to hear from you. And, we'll keep an eye on this. Something breaks, we'll jump on and tell you about it. Thanks for hanging with us, and go Cubs.